Welcome in, everyone. RFK Refugees Podcast. Ted here, John here, as John apparently is trying to.
I didn't do anything. It's just the way it is. I don't know what's going on.
We don't know what's going on. We never know what's going on here. Our whole thing is stuck. This is lovely.
Don't worry about
it. John, there we go. We're back. All right, John, how you doing, my friend? How was your weekend? Hope it was good.
I'm good. I was in West Palm Beach watching baseball all weekend in the sun, and it was funny because I was like, I'm getting to escape the cold winter of Virginia, and it was like 80 today. I was like, well, I picked the wrong week, clearly. Yeah. Clearly. How about you? You were probably refereeing and sweating.
I was, as you can probably tell from my face. It has been exceptionally warm out here in Virginia, which has been great, to be honest, man. It's been like just perfect, beautiful weather, like 70s, 80s. I'm used to like doing these like, so this is like a big thing in Richmond. It's called Jefferson Cup. It's a massive youth tournament. There's like 4 weekends. There's like literally it's such a big tournament that they split up like boys and girls weekends, and they split up the age groups as well in between like those 4 weekends. So it's a massive tournament. There are teams from all over, man. I got there was like a Chicago Fire like youth team out there. There was teams from Denver, teams from Dallas. So
was Travis Clark out there with binoculars?
Probably not, because this was like this is young boys weekend. Next week will be the younger girls age group. So like this is like highest age groups like U13, U14. He will definitely be here, and in fact he has asked me. He has asked me in the past to ask if I have time to cover some of the games. But yeah, the older age groups will be the showcase. That's where you'll see a lot more of the talent around the area. So yeah, but no, that was it's been great. It's been wonderful weather. I hope it sticks around.
It won't.
Sans the impact that it'll have. I bought gloves. I bought new gloves. I was like I'm ready for winter. I'm ready for like to referee in the winter, so my hands don't freeze. And then literally, it's been beautiful weather.
It's gonna be cold next week. Don't worry, we're still not out of that. We're in the Virginia fake spring moment. Yeah. So don't worry about it.
It's gonna hit us. It's gonna hit us hard. But speaking of things that hit hard, I guess DC United game in Baltimore was 70,000 fans. As John made kind of a weird little noise. Hopefully, I didn't blow up his speakers. 70,000 people. 72,000 people, maybe. There was maybe some fudging of the numbers when it comes to how many tickets were actually sold. Packed into M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland, to watch DC United fall 2-1 to Inter Miami. The spectacle's over. I think hopefully maybe there's a bit of return to normalcy. We'll see what kind of comes about this kind of whole charade in Baltimore. Does it get the team? The MLS Next Pro team, does it get the team to stadium? Does it lead to that? Probably won't know until several maybe months from now. Remains to be seen. Any sort of final thoughts, John, about the whole charade, the whole escapade, I guess, that the team did?
I think from a business perspective, it was probably a smashing success, and I think that was the most important thing for them here. They filled probably 2.5 Audi fields, or at least two full Audi fields. Mm-hmm. Did they help grow their brand any with new fans? I don't think so. I think, as Matty Peltola said, they were there to see Messi, not Matty Peltola. So I think that the struggle is converting those people who were there with Messi jerseys in Baltimore to driving down to DC to see DC United versus Chicago Fire or New England Revolution on a Wednesday night. It's a hard sell. I think maybe if they had beaten if DC United had beat Miami like 7-1 and Messi was like crying and trying to give his jersey away, trying to like get Luis Montañez's jersey, like trying to like beg him for it, then maybe that would have done it. But hey, like I said, this was a business decision. It was said all week, sort of in the press conference ahead of time. It was the first time I saw Renée Wilder sort of break ranks with sort of like not necessarily with ownership, but basically be like, everybody knows what this is. It's not a mystery what this is. This is about money. If I had my choice, it wouldn't be here. We'd be in Audi Field, but it's not my choice, and that's that. So. Yeah, I don't know. I'm glad it's over for the most part. I would like to see DC United they've got some winnable games here ahead of them. I think 3 points are more important than how their feelings were after having a mostly partisan crowd in their semi backyard.
Yeah, I think the most telling thing about Renée Wilder that I've learned is The dude is just like very much not going to give much away. He seems very annoyed at press conferences and he gets questions asked, and he just kind of wants to get it over with. He's and I feel like it's like what is it, the player in Ted Lasso who's like, he's not rude, he's just Dutch. It's like he's not rude, he's just Swiss, and this is what Swiss coaches do. Very, very interesting dynamic. Yeah, I mean, will those people turn into DC United fans? I think, if everything comes together as far as the academy, if everything, like, I think you want to build actual fans, you need more than just, one game. You need an actual, like, identity. You need actual, like, land in there. You need the Caranta Youth Academy or whatever they want to call it. I think they should call it the Santino Caranta Youth Academy. I think that would be a great name and a great nod to the most famous player from Baltimore. What's that?
This would be easier to remember than Pipeline.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is their actual name.
But I think that'll be the real tell of this. If this doesn't end up, in that type of landing, then yeah, this will all look, I think, a little silly. In hindsight, type of.
It would be funny if it really, if their focus on Baltimore was not about the MLS Next Pro team, but it was just desperation to find new fans that weren't mad at them already. Like they're like, I've given up making DC like us. We're gonna make another city who don't hate us like us. That's gonna be our strategy. Maybe we'll play multiple games there a year. Maybe we'll be like it'll be like NFL Europe, but just Baltimore a couple times a year to get away from people being mean at Audi Field.
To their credit, we talked about, I think, a little bit about the social media stuff that we saw, and maybe a little bit of the disappointment, and kind of them deleting comments. To their credit, they managed to figure out, they put buses to allow fans to travel up. They allowed the team, they figured out ways to transport the drums, to sort of give it some sort of a supporter section. It would have been very easy for them to just be like, no, we're just, figure it out. We'll do a bus. We'll do a couple buses, but that'll be it. But
apparently they did a really good job of the pre-match stuff too, like the fan zone stuff area ahead of time. People had a lot of good things to say. They also said, why can't you do this at Audi Field? But they try. I still think the vibes are better at Spirit games before games and after games. But it appears that they really did put an effort into trying to make it a good fan experience for the people who are like we said, likely to see this one game and then never again.
Yeah. So, remains to be seen. Let's get back. Let's talk about the action, the action on the field. DC United falling 2-1. Maybe not a surprising result. I think a lot of us were very negative about how this game sort of came, about predictions on this game. I think I said 3-0. It really felt like that, but it really kind of wasn't that. DC playing sort of very cagey in the first half, not really trying to press. I will say that this game makes Austin, in hindsight, very confusing to me. He trotted out this lineup because he was like, and Austin because he was like, oh well, they can't. I need them to defend, and basically saying like we're not good enough to beat this team toe to toe. And then he throws out literally the lineup from Philly, the attack lineup, we'll call it. Against
big dogs,
Rodrigo De Paul, against Messi. And yes, there were moments, and we'll get into some of those moments, but really the breakdowns were very much individual. I thought on the two goals, in one particular individual, which we'll get into, not sort of team breakdowns like you would have expected.
You talked about the lack of pressing in the first half. Like this team, I don't think of all the teams that you play against, I don't really, obviously there's not an easy way to handle this team, right? Like otherwise they wouldn't be so dominant. And their lineup is their lineup. They have the best player in MLS. Probably, we're not going to get into is he the best player in MLS history at his age, like in this particular, we're not going to get into that. That's a good offseason conversation point. We've got a lot of soccer to talk about, but I don't think that strategy pays itself very well. I think in the second half, you saw this team, obviously, we'll talk about the fact that they were down 2-0 at halftime and they come almost a completely different side. They play different tactically. They're on the front foot. They're more dangerous. They're not they're just different. And also Miami's got a lot more behind the ball in the second half and is in a more of a desperation mode at sometimes. But I think you can't set out that way. And I guess there's no way of knowing what that half would have looked like without those two individual mistakes, because that casts such a, it being 2-0 there's very hard ways to come out of that and be like, well, we're looking all right. We're not so bad, because it was it did not look likely that we were going to score 3 in the second half. So it just sort of puts your mind to a certain way with the score line. What was your sort of overview, goals aside, of the way that the tactics were set out? Did you think that was going to work? Once you saw it, before the goal started going in, would you say like, we might get through this half scoreless, or no?
No, I mean, not really, just because, again, I feel like they sat kind of back on the front foot. And, honestly, I mean, the way the way Messi and everybody else, they find moments. And I feel like it's not a good idea to play Messi into that role where you're kind of trying to sit back. I almost feel like you do have to kind of attack them. They've struggled this year, and they've struggled to, yes, they've improved defensively, but I think we've seen through their first couple games that they're still a little soft there, and teams that kind of go at them a little bit in the first half tend to figure out ways, to be successful against them. So, I was happy with the lineup he threw out, but again, yeah, that the caginess of everything. Gabriel Pirani was borderline useless through this entire game, and I'll get into a little bit, the changes that we saw in the second half. I really can't recall anything tactically like that really happened in this first half that was notable offensively. It was just all completely just like, trying to just keep things, keep them off the score sheet, keep them away from the goal, just not really playing in a manner that I think that maybe I was a little hopeful for coming into this game, going up at home in front of this crowd, everything around that.
What was the XG chance of the Gabriel Pirani no shot? I guess you get no XG for a shot you don't take, but an opportunity where that's not being quantified by the stats. But
yeah, that's they had a 0.223 XG according to FootMob, sort of entering in that first half. So definitely very poor, very few chances. Kurokawa, doing his left foot, but yeah, the incident with Pirani, I think, really just summed up him in this whole game. I mean, the one thing he is good at is sort of getting into the box, getting an opportunity, getting a chance, and it's like he wound up to kick, and I forget the defensive player that I think stole the ball from him, but that was just like almost like an embarrassing type moment for him, just to like almost whiff on the entire ball. 0-5 successful dribbles. He never really got engaged in the game. I don't want to call this like maybe the end of him in the starting role, but I think we're getting close. I don't know what next week is going to hold. And I think Renée trying to see who the weak link in the squad when he with the formations he puts out, I'm assuming is what yeah, maybe. Maybe I don't know. I guess nothing really else of really note. I mean, let's maybe talk about the bad. Let's get into the
Lucas Bartlett having a day to forget.
Yep, certainly so. Rich Myers says, same old Bartlett, not quick enough to stay with old man Messi and terrible on the ball. Yet another turnover in the box. He's U.S. level at best. You always hope he's getting better and then reverts to normal. Where are the new center backs that we signed? Well, one of them played defensive midfielder. One of them was
really well. Really well.
Yeah. We'll
from
get
my perspective.
We'll get into
that. Sean Nealis, I think you could see him do the Bartlett.
Yeah. You could. I think that's going to be, will we see maybe some shifting around, in the formations. This is coming up next week, these two games, again, Chicago against Atlanta, I think very, very crucial games to kind of show this team looks better, but I think it's a question of how much better. Yeah. Yes, these are games on the road. Chicago has been okay. They are certainly a very talented team. They've got some talent out there. Maybe a question of their star striker, Hugo Kuipers. Is he going to be healthy? He did not play against Columbus, and then you've got Atlanta, who I look very lost.
You cannot be Atlanta's get right game at home. You can't. No. That is like fundamental bad vibes if you do that for the entire season. Obviously, things change, but if you allow yourself to go in there as Atlanta has looked entirely hapless and lose multiple goals to nothing. Wrap it up already somehow in March.
Yeah, I'm not as mad about Bartlett with the second goal, I guess the Messi goal, because it's Messi. At the end of the day, it's Lionel Messi. Like Messi it does not matter the skill level of the defender that you sign. Maybe he wouldn't do so well against like a prime Virgil van Dijk. I mean, because that's like
so if we get a time machine and bring him over here, we could do it.
But or like I'm trying to think of some other major sort of bigger defenders out there. But
like a Sean Nealis, for instance, perhaps Sean Nealis could have put him in his pocket the whole game.
But he has made in this league at this level, he has made a fool of just doing those types of things. He is just so expertly good at reading the ball and reading the position, reading the space, and making kind of like walking the field, scanning, knowing where to be. It's why he's able to stay at this level at nearly 40 years old at this point. So I'm not really mad about that. The first goal I am mad about because that is Bartlett in possession. It's not about him being slow. He just completely gets bodied off the ball. And really leaves his team kind of high and dry at that moment. If he turns around, kicks it out, that goal probably doesn't happen.
No,
maybe Messi picks up that goal, and then we come fight back and we get a draw out of this game. So that goal really kind of stung me, and I think really undersold kind of a poor performance for him in this game.
Do you think Sean Johnson is at fault on getting not lobbed by Messi in the second goal? Obviously, we just said Messi's Messi, but do you think that I think that there have been a number of decisions where we have, Sean Johnson has made some good saves, but has made some poor decisions through 3 games. Did you think that was that, or was this just would have happened against anybody?
Maybe that's fair. I don't know if I really, again, caught up on 1v1 versus Messi, versus any striker. I'm not really going to sit there and.
If Jordan Farr was in there, I think he would have definitely made the save.
But I'm not gonna be too harsh on Sean Johnson there. So I mean, and maybe the second goal again is through traffic, getting kind of caught off guard again. So I don't think you can look at this game and really blame him. I don't think he really made many saves that you would say would be game savers. I can't really
Sean
recall.
Johnson?
Yeah, I can't really.
He made
recall.
2. He made 1 or 2 in the second half. He made 1 that would have ended it. And then I think also I was looking, Miami had quite a few chances to change the scoreline in the second half as DC United was getting stretched, which happens. But yeah, I don't know. He's not our biggest problem at all. Mm-hmm. He's making good saves, but there are the things that I worry about are more of the box management. That it's Messi. I think you just when you play in her, you just in your mind put 1-0 Messi, and then work around that. You've got to score 2 goals. If you want to win, you've got to score 2. We're just going to put that on the board.
Yeah.
At halftime, so I did hear from a lot of folks during the game. Nicholas Michael says drums stopped at halftime. From a distance, it looked like the stadium did not prevent pink shirts in the faux Chico stand, and also did not give the supporters enough space for their drums or flags. Always a problem when you go and deal with security that's not used to you. I think that happens a lot of times when you travel, when you have a home game that's like traveling. I did hear there were some problems with people, some visiting fans and Miami fans getting very rowdy and attacking some of the members of the supporter group. So not really a surprise. And it took a while, I think, for security to sort it out. I think they eventually did, but it's that is not a surprising outcome. I think it takes a year or so to train the security staff to know how to handle it's. I mean, it's complicated. If you mostly do football games, like NFL games, and then you go to this, you're like, I got a briefing, but I was not prepared for any of this. This is outside of my expertise.
We always laugh at kickers games. Anytime there's a kickers game that's bumping up against the NASCAR race or some other big event where stadium they clear out all the usual people that we get, the stadium security people who know what this is, who know there's supporters group, there's people yelling, there's people maybe saying some naughty language, and their kids around too. I mean, it's just the nature of kind of how City Stadium's built. It becomes very obvious when we have those games when they're not the usual security people around, and then there's usually maybe a little lack of knowledge as far as trying to figure that out. I'll never forget the Miami fans or the Madison fans and the Richmond fans, and this guy thought he was like going to be going like I don't know like River Plate and Boca Juniors type like fights that were going to develop in the fans between these two people, even though we were literally tailgating with them before the game. It was kind of funny. But yeah, yeah, that's true. And I think I went to a couple of DC games. You know, they've cleared out a lot of the like supporters. There was some issues with supporters, like away supporters sneaking in. They've cleared that out here at Audi Field. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that takes time. In case of DC, apparently it took 3 to 4 years to figure that out. But second half, no subs, no changes. The first changes that came in were Nikola Markovic coming in for Brendan Servania and Luis Luis coming in for Pirani. Let's talk about Markovic to start the game, and then we'll get into Luis. I maybe want to save a little bit of analysis on him for the Patreon show. Markovic, go ahead.
I was just say I'm ready. I'm somehow already ready to see him start against Chicago. I thought from a physicality perspective, he was better. Obviously, he's got size on Brendan. He was calm with passing. I thought that would be sort of the area that you'd be concerned about him pushing him farther up the field, playing now as a professional after just being in college a little bit ago. I was not concerned there as well. I think the team knows it too. Has he been a sub in every single game? Has he come in every single game? I'm pretty sure that he has.
Yeah.
He came. I'm 90% sure.
Yeah. Very last minute. No, this is a guy who's a huge talent. I am concerned. I will say, yes, I noticed immediately. I think he played a ball, like got off the half turn, turned around the midfield, played this really nice ball that kind of like split Miami and allowed DC to sort of develop an attack. Yep. His passing ability is great. Defensive ability, physicality is great. Speed wise, I think he did get kind of turned a little bit. So, I don't know, maybe a concern with like a team that maybe has a little bit more speed to it. Are they able to kind of bypass him?
Maddie's going to have his hands filled when he's his partner, I think.
Yeah.
He's got to cover more ground.
But with regards to that, if it works, like, we know that Markovic is going to be maybe that guy who's going to ping the box. If he can figure out a way to cover kind of that defensive ground, it opens up Matty Patola to, get more involved in the attack, to maybe cause some overloads that can maybe give some teams some fits. So it's something to watch for sure, because kind of another first half Servania was Servania. Maybe next to Pirani, he's been the most like invisible player. You're not really seeing much sort of contributions from him that really stand out. And I think it's definitely time. I definitely left that game thinking I want to see more of Markovic over Servania if it's set up, and maybe over Bartlett. I don't know. Right now the team is just very, very thin at central midfield, so we might see Bartlett or Rolls or some other players kind of step in there. So and then let's get into Luis Munteanu, who I think for the first time finally showed a little bit. Not going to call him, surefire hit, $7 million worthwhile. Still doesn't have any goals, still doesn't have any assists, but a very noticeable improvement once he came in and Pirani left. Of course, he tries the bicycle kick, which, I tried to say, okay, I need to take that out of the equation. Like, okay, yes, that's nice. Haven't, seen a player try that, I guess, except for Jacob Murrell. Take that out of the equation. That's the try stuff type player that you like to see. But otherwise, he dropped back a lot more, covered space, tried to maybe do some link up play. And certainly I could start to see, hey, this guy can read space and he can read everything. What were your thoughts on him, I guess, in this game?
Much better than the first two appearances, I think, for sure. I think he's much closer to starting. I think he was a player that was demanding the ball in a way that you noticed a lack of before. Baribo is always going to ask for the ball, but Luis was doing that as well. So he's another threat that we don't have a lot of otherwise. We do, but I think he's got a nose for goal, and I think he looks dangerous a lot of times. I think you see him start next week. I really do. Just like I said last week, I think this is the opportunity here on the road to give him 60 minutes from the start and see how we do. I'm happy. Like you said, he's got a long way to go. He's got to be man of the match contender like every game. at the outlay and what this team needs to actually do well. So he's got a ways to go, and he's got an opportunity to prove himself soon, I hope.
Yeah, and I think it'll be good to see him kind of get into that, get into that kind of that starting role. Caden Clark also subbing in, Jacob Murrell, not too much, but Caden Clark coming in, looking kind of strong. He is alive. I think he fits. I don't like, because I feel like if you start him, then you're kind of benching Jackson Hopkins. I think he kind of works. He is a much more direct player than Hopkins. And that's why I kind of want to see Luis kind of get into this game, because I want to see more, Luis Munteanu, we heard kind of drifts off to the left. In this game, he was very much drifting off to the right to try to link up with Jackson Hopkins, to try to make passes, try to make connections. Jackson Hopkins, of course, gets the semi assist, the low shot that finds Bariba for the goal. But it's pretty clear, like, Caden Clark came in. That was good to see. He looked lively. He definitely wanted to press the game, wanted to push the game a bit. So it's nice to see now, that this team does appear to have, some players that can step in and can kind of change the game, which hasn't been the case for a while.
Would you, Hopkins is out of contract with him this year, based on the fact that he has started or appeared for most of these games, and seems kind of key to the, hopes of this team, or at least would you extend him right now? Would you make sure give him a couple years? I would seems like a no brainer if you
sign him. You sign him right now, and you get him on a U22 deal. Like, that's the play. I think this team, it really does
got the space, right? They've got the opportunity to do that with a domestic player.
They do. It would prevent them from signing a DP, because they would be maxed out at 4, based on everything we're seeing, maxed out at 4 designated 4 U22 slots and 2 designated players. So that would, cap them in that way. I was trying to check, like, when his actual birthday. Yeah, July 1st, 2004.
So he'll be 22 this summer.
Yeah, and I think that's okay, as long as you don't turn 23, as long as you stay 22 for the whole season. So yeah, perfect opportunity, I think, to get him on a U22 deal, keep his cap hit low, get him paid. And this is I think been like the only sort of success story of the U22 slot. And I wish they would just take this rule and kind of chuck it, and maybe give everybody an extra DP slot, but then say, okay, you can take a homegrown player and you can offer them a second contract and get the same benefit. Because that's kind of what we're seeing, like, the spot really being used for, like Caden Clark, U22 slot type player. I'll be curious to see, though. I think based on, it seems like Pirani's body language, according to some, was not good. I think he knows his days are numbered. He is a player I would watch. If he makes his exit, if there is a team out there that in Brazil that wants to sign him and he gets to return, I think there's a pretty good chance he could be a player that makes his exit and frees up that U22 slot to sort of allow them. The summer window is going to be interesting. I think there's going to be a couple players, including one, maybe I think we're going to save that a little bit for the Patreon show. We'll talk a little bit about that.
Kim has played in both of his matches in Korea, by the way, and got a clean sheet on one of them. So maybe if he burns it up, maybe they quickly convert that loan into a transfer and get him off the books as a U22 player, and then allow yourself to sign that third DP. Yeah, I mean, they may not be a bit rushed with Hopkins. I don't imagine Hopkins is going to have any sort of like international suitors of any kind.
And they do have an option. They have an option year, I think, still on his contract. So he's locked in. I just think if they can make it work, take advantage of that U22 slot, get him, locked in for a few more years. He loves the club. He wants to play for the club.
I say this only partially as a guy that's gets obviously in the bag for him. I just think that if this is a player that the manager seems to rate enough to play him all the time, then I think you could probably do a good deal. I think you could probably do a very team budget, even if it wasn't U22. I think you probably can get him on good money.
Yeah. Agreed. All right. And any other, I guess, listener questions that we have on our free side? Here's from Todd Dudge. This didn't even feel like a game, more like an event. Oh, by the way, DC is playing a soccer match. What are your feelings of the charade of a home game? Bonus question, will Messi ever play at Audi? I don't know, man. What's Messi's contract? I think he signed for a few more years. So
they signed 2 more years.
2 more years.
Mhm.
DC will be grouped in with. There will be probably maybe at least 2 opportunities potentially next year for Messi, both in the 27-28 season and the shortened 27 season, depending on how all that shakes out. But
I bet they just do this again. I bet they just run this back next year.
Yeah, very
if they sold that many tickets, there would be. I don't think that this team has the self-restraint to turn down the money that in that way. They would have to triple the prices, not in the secondary market, but in the primary market to make it even, and they won't do that. So
I think it's going to depend. They will do this again. Of course, if Messi's on the field, who knows, man? I mean, he signed a contract. He could also be like, after the World Cup,
correct.
He could win the World Cup again and be like, after this year, I'm done. I think it's time to sail in the sunset. I mean, there's nothing that says he can't retire. The dude is more money than he knows what to do with. He literally is just playing because he can.
He can go to Newell's and wrap it up down there, play in Argentina.
I think a lot of this is going to depend on where the whole stadium deal is. If that deal gets announced, that deal gets done, and even if the stadium's not there yet, they're building the academy. Oh yeah, 100%. They're going to do this again. They're 100% going to do this again, especially since the Commander Stadium is not even close to ready.
No,
close to ready. So, I think that's going to do it. We did get a listener question about Herrera. I think we'll save that a little bit for our Patreon show. But anything else you want to drop about this game? Any other news, notes, thoughts?
No, I think that this is going to be. I think we talked about the circus being over. Now we're firmly in the all right. Time to get off the high of the Philadelphia game, the excuses of the Austin game, and the circus that was Messi coming to town. Now these are games that are winnable. They're on the road, and there may not be where you want to play at this early, but these are points you got to convert at this time with these teams being down. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like. Are they able to come out with the same lineup again? Do we see Luis get a run from the start? Do we see someone score? Can we get more than one goal in a game, which we may need? I don't know. It'll be good to see. I am not for a team that only has 3 points through 9. I don't feel awful about it yet. Talk to me in 2 more games. If we have 3 points from 15, then I'm going to probably be concerned.
Over under 1.5 points out of these next 2 games.
Over.
I'll say the over. Maybe I should have said it like 2.5 or something like that. I don't know.
3.5.
2 points. 2 points would be successful for you. You get 2 points out of this game. 2 draws.
No, one of these. I want one of these to be a win.
You want one of these to be a win? If a win and a loss, you good with that?
Yep.
Okay. Where do you think the win is most likely to come from?
I think the win is most likely to come away to Chicago.
Away to Chicago. I'm gonna go away.
I think we could draw. I think we could draw it. I think a draw at Atlanta happens very likely. I think that's very possible. I could see a 0-0 happening in Atlanta, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I do think I will see, man. You're right. I mean, it's a scary sort of get right game type of thing. But again, I don't think DC is flying so high where it's where they can be considered like sort of that team that can be that type of get right game. So we'll see. Atlanta look really bad. I will say like they look terrible. I think Chicago looks like a better team. If we get a point out of Chicago, I will be happy.
Do you think we see the Austin lineup in Atlanta? We see the defensive Jared Stroud.
I hope not. I hope because that's indoors. I have to think like just looking at the way he lined up this Miami game, there was just a heat concern about the idea of trying to press. And maybe he was just like, I need to just like give this team like half a time to go at it because of the heat. I don't know. That's the only thing I can sympathize with it.
Maybe
we'll see, man. I mean, maybe this does become his away lineup, or maybe he looks at this and says, "Hey, we defended pretty well against Miami.
Our attacking lineup is also our defending lineup. We can just do this. We can do this no matter what."
Yeah. So I do think that's important. I think we need to see a set lineup out there. And I think if you're throwing Luis, if you're going to play that defensive lineup, then you absolutely should not put Luis Munteanu out there. You should put Luis Munteanu out there when you have an attacking lineup to support him.
Yep.
100%. All right. That's going to do it for the free version of the show. If you're listening on Patreon, just stick around. We'll be right back. You see a little break and then we'll be back. If you listen to the free version, you can join our Patreon version, patreon.com/RFKRFGs. We have a lot more questions, a lot more comments. We answer all of them.
The show is going to be like double the length if you subscribe. based on the amount of questions we get. So if you like hearing your questions answered and us try to come up with answers, then this is the $5 you want to spend.
Exactly. All right, guys. We'll catch you next week if you're listening on the free version. Stick around the Patreon version. Vamos.
Vamos.